A message from our sponsor, Infinity Satellite and Software Solutions, LLC. Barge tracking is becoming more and more important to companies, especially in low river stages and bad weather. Track and manage all of your valuable assets in one source with our comprehensive and easy-to-use web-based mapping and management application. We offer a complete end-to-end solution of products, software, services, and support. We offer solar GPS trackers that are intrinsically safe with Class 1, Div 1, and Zone 0 certifications. Our portfolio of GPS satellite products are designed to fit your every need. For vessels, we can automate their ICWW fuel waterways tax by state. The system automatically calculates the taxable river miles traveled, and with just a click of a button, a customer can run an accurate report and pay their taxes by state. Please check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, or at our website, www.infinitysss.com. Welcome back to Between the Levees. I am joined today by Stephanie Cavaliere. Her route to the wheelhouse was a little bit different than most of my other guests, but she's been with Kirby Corporation for 11 years as a pilot and then a port captain. And she's into rescuing dogs and I'm sure a whole lot more. But let's get this started. Stephanie, thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Have you been watching the show?
I have. And then actually one of my buddies messaged me the other day. He said, you should really go on Tim's podcast. And I said, you know what? I have an interview signed up for him for Wednesday. So here we are.
He told me he reached out to you last night, actually.
Oh, did he?
So, yeah.
That's funny.
Do you have a favorite episode you've seen so far?
Well, Kyle, of course, because I know him. So it's different when you get to know the person and then you see him on one of these things.
I believe he was the one that told me to interview you, in fact.
Yep.
Yep.
Where'd
you end up meeting him?
Out on the water. I think we passed each other a couple of times, and then social media. Whenever I was a pilot, I was really big on time lapsing on Instagram and Facebook. So we found each other on social media, and I think we met each other a couple of times just driving by.
Well, if you've seen these before, you know how they begin. Please tell me, where were you born?
I was born in Queens, New York.
What did your parents do for a living?
So my mom, she works for a company called Classic Medallics. It's just an engraving company, and my dad worked for Colgate, the toothpaste company.
Okay. So was there anybody else in the family in the industry?
Nope, not a soul. I am the first.
Well, tell me about growing up in New York.
Growing up in Queens was amazing. It was a small town, nothing like it is compared today. I just went and visited back in January, and all the houses that used to be there are no longer. It's just high rises now. But I mean, it was a nice neighborhood. We'd go out with our friends every night and just play basketball and, come back when it's dark. We didn't have cell phones, so our parents were just like, come back before it got dark, and just trusted us, and it was fun. It was very different than how kids are growing up today. That's for sure.
Without a doubt. I was right outside New Orleans growing up, but pretty much the same thing. Come back before dark, dinner's at 6, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you drawn to anything in school growing up?
Believe it or not, growing up, I was really into entomology, which is the study of bugs. So I thought growing up I would be a scientist or an entomologist. And then that all shifted throughout the years. And then I ended up what I'm doing now.
Well, what led you to SUNY Maritime College?
So my dad had a coworker whose daughter graduated from SUNY. And when I was looking at colleges, I was really big into basketball, and that's kind of what I wanted to do, but I didn't think there was really going to be a future in basketball. So she took me to SUNY, kind of like a little tour around the campus. We went on the ship, and she was telling me all about how school was there. Every summer you'd go on the training ship to different countries and you're learning at the same time you're traveling. And I was like, well, this sounds amazing. Who wouldn't want to go to France and Europe and Spain and just explore? So I was like, oh, I'll try that. And I looked more into it. And with my mom being from Brazil, I had this great plan that I would go to school, get my license, and then go work for Petrobras, which is a company in Brazil. The tankers, they transport oil. So I was like, oh, that would be great, but life had a different calling for me.
Tell me about that college experience. I'm sure it was far different from what I did.
College was, it's funny because if you talk to anyone who graduated from a maritime academy, they're like, you hate it when you're there, but once you're gone, you respect it, and you're glad to be from there. And that's basically what SUNY was. Like, I dreaded every minute of it. But at the same time, I owe so much to them because I'm the person I am today because of everything I learned, how they sculpted me. When I was in college, I was 210 pounds. So I was not fit. I was very overweight for my age and everything. And I was part of the regiment, which required PT, daily PT, in the mornings, and then a lot of physical activity. And like I said, I hated it, but I stuck with it, and it definitely just sculpted me into the person I am today. So I'm very grateful for that experience. But now I've heard that maritime academies have changed, because back when I was in school, we would be hazed, and now everything's just changed. I guess people complained to their parents that they were being forced to do push-ups and everything. And a lot of the experience that I went through is no longer available. They had to ease things from my understanding.
Well, I've had a few military folks on here before. Tell me about this hazing.
It wasn't nothing, it's like, if you messed up, you're going to pay the price. Keep doing push-ups until they said stop. It wasn't like they were beating us or anything. It was honestly just exercise, nobody ever got hurt. But that was the freshman haze, instead of, we would have to jog to class. We had a path that we had to take. We couldn't just walk directly from classroom to classroom. We had to walk this mud path, and that's all it was. It was just, as a freshman, you just got the shitty end of the stick. But that's what made it great moving up and becoming like a first classman. You just that's what you were looking forward to.
What was the curriculum?
What do you mean? Like what I was
Coursework.
learning?
Yeah, what were you doing in the courses?
It was your basic math and history and stuff like that. And then I did I went to deckhand route, or to get my mate's license. So it was focused on marine transportation, and then everything, all the classes to get your third mate's license. So like celestial navigation, terrestrial navigation, rules of the road, just everything to get you prepared to take your license once you're a senior.
And did it cover inland
No,
at all?
not very little. And to be honest, whenever I graduated from SUNY, I had no idea inland ever existed, because we were all about offshore, stability courses, stuff like that, tankering, not like inland tankering, but ship tankers, and so it was very little focused on inland. And even going back today, like when I go recruit, they still, all the cadets that are out there looking at booth to booth for jobs, most of what they're learning about inland is from us there at the job fair telling them about it.
I'm finding that a lot doing this podcast, especially. Tell me about the training ship experiences.
The training ship was fun. We did take classes on the ship, and then you would paint the ship every summer as a freshman, and up until you're a senior. When you're a senior, then you get to kind of make all the direction, but we had our different curriculums there between classes, and watch, and just basically manual labor around the ship. Like you would have mess duty where you're in the kitchen cleaning up after everybody, then there was just so much to do. And then you get about 3 to 4 days in each port. So you would leave, and then you'd have to come back by a certain time. And when you're out, it was have fun, go shopping, go to the bars, and come back. Hopefully you're not drunk.
How many students were on board?
Oh man. So back when I was in school, it was all of us. I think it was close to like, trying to think, there's hundreds of us, but over the years it got so packed that they had to split up crews into 2 different 90-day cruises, because there was just too many cadets for just one sea term. So they would do 90 days, and then halfway through fly a group out, fly a group in to do like a total crew swap. So that's how much bigger school got since I left.
Do any memories stick out from any foreign ports? Did you have any favorite experience?
There's a lot. I don't know if I should say them on podcast. Most of it involved alcohol and waking up with tattoos, we were young and stupid, and this is our chance of freedom. And I bet you everyone who's been to SUNY or any maritime school for that fact can relate, just because I'm smiling so hard. So it's just those things that you shouldn't talk about, but if you're in that group of friends, then you just know what happened. It was just fun. It was like our first time being alone, no parents, just having fun.
How long was that trip?
So we would leave, I believe, at the end of May, early June, and come back in August.
Just a few months. And how many countries did you hit along the way?
So each year we did about 4 to 5. And I went on 3 summer sea terms. So over those years, I've been to Spain, France, Ireland, Mallorca, Gibraltar. It's just places I didn't even know really existed. We climbed. Oh, the one experience that I will share was me and my friends, we climbed the Rock of Gibraltar, got all the way to the top, and then usually they had this lift that'll take you back down so you don't have to walk the whole way down. And well, the lift was broken, so we hitchhiked down. And it was just the way the road went was just in a circle. And these guys that we hitchhiked with thought it was so funny because they had a bunch of American girls on the back, and they were just trying to make us scream. So they would just go down really fast and then cut that turn, and just it was an experience.
How long was that hike?
It was only a couple hours. It wasn't bad. And then on the way up, there's monkeys and trying to steal your wallet. It was a fun experience.
Avoiding any details you shouldn't share, did you have a favorite country?
My favorite country would probably be Portugal, just because the beaches were so beautiful. And since I'm Brazilian, I can speak Portuguese, so it was easy for me to get around, you know. So that was probably my favorite.
Have you been fluent in Portuguese your whole life?
Yes.
Good for you.
So my mom, she was born and raised in Brazil. My grandma, my aunts and uncles, cousins are all still there. And growing up as a kid, we would avoid the New York winter by going to Brazil in our winter, which is their summer. So that's kind of like, I live in Texas now, and every time it gets cold, people are like, you're from New York, you should be used to this, you know. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I do not like the cold. I didn't like it as a kid either, you know.
Is your father from the US?
Yes, my dad is an American born and raised. Actually, the house they still live in is the house he grew up in as a kid.
Where did they meet?
My parents met as a blind date. My mom, she actually left Brazil and came to United States because she was running away from an arranged marriage. And so she came to the United States as like an au pair, taking care of some kids, and she has some friends and my dad has some friends, and they just got on a blind date together through their friends.
What was the planned career track and how'd you end up at Kirby?
So my plan was I'll get my unlimited license and go work on tankers, because I did cadetship on tankers. And at the time whenever I was getting closer to graduation, the last ship I was on got scrapped. So there goes my plans, you know. Then it was rough finding a job. I won't name the company, but I did get told in an interview, it was between me and a guy, and the guy interviewing me straight up told me, he said, well, it's really close between you and this other person. He said, but I don't want to take a chance of you getting pregnant and leaving. So I'm going to go with this guy. And that was kind of the gist that I got, a lot of it, you know. And here I am, 34 with no kids, you know, so it's not like, you know, I don't know what chance they thought they were taking on me or not, you know, but I just got a phone call one day and Kirby called me and said, hey, are you looking for a job? And I said, actually, I am. They're like, well, would you like to come down and interview? And I was like, okay. So in the meantime, I just researched, you know, what's Kirby? I never heard of this company before. And I went and I interviewed and I got the job, and that was, the rest is history.
Walk me through your introduction to towboats.
So graduating from Maritime Academy, I got hard on as a motive, which is a steersman. As a steersman, you still had to go the deckhand path. Trained on the Mobile, which was my first boat with Captain Billy Davis. Love that man to death. I owe him so much. I'm here today because of him, because he never let me give up. You know, even when things got rough, he never let me give up. So we would deck for a few months. Then when the captain thought you were ready, you could start steering. We still had to get our transfers, our loads and discharges, learning the barges, you know, because how can you be a wheelman without learning everything and expecting to teach these guys and lead these guys if you don't even know what you're doing, you know? So did the deckhand path, did the tankerman path, although we didn't sit for our tankerman's license. Steersman, it wasn't an option for us because that's what we were hired for, was the wheelhouse. So I do have a tankerman assist. Then start training as a steersman, getting our tour signed, you know, getting posted in different areas all the way, Corpus and Brownsville, the Decatur Loop and everything in the middle, you know, that's where I trained on at least. And then after, I would say I was probably a steersman for like 9 months maybe close to a year before I got cut loose as a pilot. And then a couple years as pilots, a couple years as relief captain, and then I came shoreside.
Did you run into any issues due to being female in the towboat industry?
You would always get those comments from like other boats when you're passing by, cat calls on the radio and stuff like that. But Kirby is very open to women, so I never had any problems at Kirby. No, that's what I'm very grateful to Kirby for giving me the opportunity and continuing to give women the opportunity to, succeed and just grow with the company. But you'll always pass those people in the river or something, and what are you doing on a boat? You belong in the kitchen, because it happens. The maritime industry is just so male dominated, and there's still a lot of people out there who don't believe females should be on boats, that they should just be cooks, but we are growing in our numbers, and we are slowly proving ourselves that we can do the job just as well as any other guy out here. We have females that will put some guys to shame out on deck. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, anybody can do the job.
Well, tell me a little bit about that decking experience. What was the hardest part of, what was the most surprising thing you saw out there?
So it was coming from a maritime academy, which was predominantly offshore, and then coming to an inland, everything is just so much more hands-on inland. And that's why I love it, because you're out there, you're throwing lines, you're talking your guys through everything. Whenever I cadet shipped, we went through the Panama Canal, but when you went through the Panama Canal, you got the Panamanians on board. They would bring their ship pilot, bring their deckhands, and you would just sit back and go through it. Inland, it's all you. There's no ship pilot that's going to come on. There's no special deck crew that's going to come on. No matter what the lock is, no matter what the bridge is, it's all you. And that's what I love inland so much, because it's so much more hands-on, and I get bored very, very easily. So it's always keeping me on my toes, and it's always exciting. It's a totally different experience than I can ever imagine.
What's one of the craziest things you've seen out there?
Ooh, I've seen lots of things. Crazy as in how? What do you mean by crazy?
I don't know. Just one of the weirdest experiences you may have had, or something you've seen.
That's a hard question, because I've seen so many different things. Your first year as a pilot too, getting cut loose, your first watch by yourself, you always have those oh shit moments, like it's only me up here. So that first year as a pilot, I think I've seen so much shit, and been through it all. But I can't really, the craziest, I think I deal with crazy on a daily basis, especially being shoreside, now. So there's not one crazy thing that comes to mind. It's just a whole blur of things.
Did you have a favorite place to run?
I really loved going to the river, that whole stretch from Houston to the river. I know some people don't like it because like home is super sketchy or tight, La Rose is super tight. I like those close quarter situations. I like the whole course there. It's just every watch is something different, and like I said, it always keeps you on your toes, and the river is so nice. I'm not really a fan of Corpus, I'll be honest. I did train in Corpus on a harbor boat, but the whole West End, there's just, I don't know, I'm not a West End girl. I like the river.
How far upriver have you been?
So when I trained, I did do the Decatur loop. So we would go from Chocolate Bayou to Ascend and Decatur, Alabama. So I love that because it's just a different world up there. It's just so beautiful. You won't have traffic for watches, and then I enjoyed the locks going up there too, because it was, like I said, it's so hands-on, breaking toe in the lock and having to go and running catcher barges too. That was always fun. But it was very beautiful. I miss those days for sure.
How often are you running boats these days? I know I saw just this week, I think, on Facebook, you were at the Sticks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyone who's in the maritime industry right now can agree that we are like a dying breed. There's just a shortage for wheelmen and tankermen and deckhands for that matter. So whenever we're super short staffed, which happens every so often, we'll go cover some boats just because we still have licenses, and when your company needs you, you go. There was an emergency that somebody needed to get off, so I went and covered.
What do you think our biggest issue in recruiting is these days on all levels out there?
I don't think necessarily it's an issue with recruiting. And this is just me, my opinion about it is that kids are not raised the way they used to be. They are so focused on their cell phones and video games and everything like that, that, they'll think they want to come out here and work. And then they get out here and just run away from work, and I see it at my company, my other friend's company, my husband's company. We will hire these deckhands who they'll paint the picture of what they'll do for us. And then when it comes to actually showing up and doing the job, they're doing everything in their power to not do it, and I was raised the way that my dad would tell me, if you're going to commit to something, you're going to finish it. If you start something, you're going to finish it, and when it got rough at school and even training, and I wanted to quit, like I said, Captain Billy Davis did not let me quit. My dad didn't let me quit, and he just stuck through it. But now it gets hard, and these guys are gone. No one wants to just power through it or get through it. Nobody wants to work anymore. And it's, like I said, it's not, and what recruiting isn't doing, it's industry wide, and then it's, just everything. I mean, you can barely get somebody to go work at McDonald's either, it's just as shortages everywhere.
Tell me what you can about Captain Billy Davis, where he came from, and when you met him, his coaching, all that kind of stuff.
So Captain Billy, he's from Louisiana. It's really funny because, I mean, I think I have a Texan accent now, but before, when I first moved down here, I still had my New York accent, and he had his Louisiana accent, and we could barely understand each other. I was always like, what did you say? And I think I was his first female that he trained as well. So it was funny because, being a girl on the boat, everyone's kind of on pins and needles around you. Like, what do we say? What don't we say? And finally, I'm just like, look, I'm here like y'all. I'm just here to learn. So as long as you'll teach me, I'll learn, and we can go from there, He was so full of knowledge. He taught me everything he knew, and he had so much patience with me. Oh my gosh, so much patience, because like I said, I didn't know anything. Coming from an offshore aspect and background, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to drive a light boat. I didn't even know, it was just, he needed a lot of patience to deal with me. So, and he had that. So I owe him everything because of how patient he was and how much time he took into training me. But he is one of the best. He's out right now because he hurt his ankle. He got into a motorcycle accident from my understanding on his days off. But he was one of the best wheelmen to train me for sure.
Did he share any stories with you that you can share on air here? Anything
Um,
interesting from his career?
I just remember the time I finally, it's just a memory for me because it was so big for me, you know, with him. The time that I finally realized how to steer without looking down, because that was my biggest hurdle whenever I started steering. You know, I didn't know how to work the sticks and work the throttles and without looking at them, you know, and then just one day it just clicked and I just did everything and I'm looking outside, you know, and just doing it. And he's just like, you did it. And I was like, oh shit, I did it. You know, it's like a light bulb came on. It was like, all right, I got it now, you know. But as a steersman, you know, it's just little things like that just meant the world to you.
You think he'd be interested in appearing on this show?
I don't know if he might be camera shy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to convince him to watch this so I can, you know, tell him like, hey, I talked about you. Cause man, I owe that man so much. I don't think he realizes, you know, he was such a big part of my training and my career. And I just owe him a lot.
We'll see if we can line that up.
I'll talk to him. I'll try to convince him.
Does your husband work in the industry as well?
He does. He does.
What does he do?
Well, he started on the boats as well. He is now vice president of Intracoastal Tug and Barge, Intratug. So he worked the deck, got his tankerman's license, pilot, relief captain, shoreside, and now he's moving on up.
So you said you jumped to port captain in 2020 during COVID. Tell me about that process.
So at the time, my boat was getting tied up for whatever reason, maintenance, you know, and then I had the option of, well, let me backtrack. My boat got tied up. At the time, I was dating somebody and he worked for a different towing company and we had the same schedule, you know, so it was nice because we were off the same days and we were on the same days. And when my boat got tied up, I was kind of doing the whole boat hopping thing, just what you do when your boat's in the shipyard, you know, you just cover where they need you. And my schedules kind of started getting conflicting with his, so it was like I was never going to be home when he was home, and at the time we were engaged too, so it was like, oh, this kind of sucks, you know. So I went shoreside, kind of like a probationary period to see how I would do, if I would be cut out for it, you know. At the same time, then I was able to be home, you know, so I was home when he was home, so that was nice. And then I just fell in love with being a port captain and came shoreside for good.
Tell me about live shoreside.
I love it. I love being a port captain. It's a different experience from driving the boat because now I'm managing the boats and crews, you know. I have 12 boats that I manage on top of some contracts that I oversee. So I oversee a lot of boat and barge movements. And I just like being able to relate to these guys and be that middleman, you know, whenever there's an issue, trying to paint the picture for the customer. And then kind of being the voice of reason too, you know. The hardest part I would say about being a port captain or being in any managing position is managing people and their, I don't know what to call it, all their different personalities, you know. That's the biggest hurdle because sometimes people just don't get along, and if you have two conflicting personalities, I'll tell you firsthand, just nothing will go right on that boat, they'll have incidents, they'll just, the safety culture of the boat just goes down whenever you don't have a crew that can work together. So, like I said, the biggest hurdle of my job is making sure I have the right crews, everybody gets along, everybody works safely together, and they're able to do their job day in, day out, come back to work, go home, and all in one piece, and I just love it because at the same time, I'm still able to jump on boats, and if there's issues, I'm able to talk them through it. Or, a lot of times my guys will just call me and say, hey, let me run this by you. What do you think? And we'll work together. We'll think out the whole process together, come up with solutions. So it's different from managing one boat because I'm managing a bunch of them now, but it doesn't get boring.
What's one of the wildest calls you've gotten as a port captain?
Man, you get a lot, from groundings to spills, just all sorts of incidents and that you have to go respond to. I will say, I don't know if I've had a super wild one. I remember I know when I was a pilot, probably the wildest one for my port captain at the time was when my captain got sucked up into Caney Creek Cut. We had two barges and he just wasn't paying attention to the tide. And I woke up and to bang, bang, bang. And I get up and I go up to the wheelhouse and I'm like, what the heck is going on? This isn't the ICW. Like, I just see the Gulf, and he's breaking up from the barges trying to catch him. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I always warn you about this place. I always warn you about this cut, and he's like, I wasn't paying attention and I got sucked up in there, and a lot of people do that. And that was probably the craziest one that my port captain at the time got called out to.
Where is that?
Caney Creek. It's at mile 420, going towards Corpus or on that west end. It's a shallow area. You shouldn't meet anybody near there, and the current will rip through there. So if you're not paying attention and you're not lined up right, you'll just get sucked up into that cut.
Well, I think that'll cover the boat career. When did dog rescue come into your life? And are you focused mainly on blue heelers?
Oh gosh. So I love blue heelers just because my healer, he is my everything. Growing up, I never had a dog, believe it or not. I didn't get my first dog till I came shoreside in 2020. And it was my friend was like, oh, she's shoreside now. So she called me. She's like, hey, I got you a present. I said, what's that? I go over to her house and there was a puppy. And I was like, what is this? I was like, I can't have a dog, and she's like, but you have a shoreside job now. So of course you can. So I got this dog. She was my first one. She's an Australian Shepherd. And she was just so bad as a puppy. She was so bad. And I think part of it was probably my fault too, because I never had a dog before. So it was first time for me and first time for her, And then this blue heeler came along, just showed up at my door. And I tried everything to find his owners and nobody came forward. But he basically helped me train her because he was such a good dog and he would listen to me, and he is just my right-hand man, and my husband will agree, like if I'm feeling down, my dog is there, if I'm happy, my dog is happy. He is just my dude. So when I moved to Texas, because at the time I was living in Louisiana, so I moved back to Texas in 2020. I was on Facebook and somebody had posted that this dog is going to die if they don't have a foster for like a couple weeks. And I was like, what's fostering, you know? And I just looked into it and they're like, oh, you just hold this dog. The rescue will pay for everything. Just take this dog in, feed it, you know, take care of it for a couple weeks until he can get transported to his new home. And I was like, well, that sounds easy enough. So I tried it, you know, we had a great experience. And then, so that was my first foster. So I had 3, he left. And I was like, oh, I can keep on doing this. You know, I had a house, I had a backyard. So 2 turned into 3, turned into 4. And I just kept fostering. And at one time I had 20 dogs in one household, you know. And it was just taking these dogs into your home, feeding them, walking them, you know, just giving them a place to live until transport out of Texas. You know, a lot of dogs that I fostered have gone to New York, have gone to Portland, have gone to Washington, you know, just all over. Just take care of these dogs until transport's available out of Texas. And it was a great experience. I really haven't had a bad the bad experience, let me put it this way, the bad experience I have learned from, you know, bad experience like Parvo. I had no idea what Parvo was before. I have learned so much about how to take care of Parvo puppies, and I have the utmost respect for anybody who does that, because my last, well, I still have him now, he gets transported tomorrow actually, but this last Parvo case I had, he got sick on a Friday, and Parvo costs are like $1,000 per day for one dog. So with it being a Friday and a lot of vets not being open on the weekends, you know, then the costs just keep going up and up and up. So me and my husband, we got fluids, we got medication, and 2 hours around the clock for 24 hours. I was just giving him IVs. I learned how to do IVs on dogs. And just watching his health, just trying to keep him alive for those 24 hours. That's the biggest part, you know, and it's just so much to it. And then it's a very emotional, you know, it's very emotional to go through a dog that's almost about to die, you know, and seeing that and knowing that you're his only chance at survival, you know, and then nursing him back to health and seeing him just get better. It's just an experience I can't even relate, you know, I can't even talk about, because it's just one thing you have to experience, you know. And I've done that multiple times. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of Parvo cases. I actually have 6 Parvo puppies right now that I've rescued from the valley that I'm trying to get help for. So Parvo is just, it's terrible, and it's so avoidable if people would just vaccinate their dogs, you know. That's all it takes. Don't let your puppies go out in the grass if they're not vaccinated, because that's how they'll get it. And it's just heartbreaking, because the survival rate is not good if it's not treated right away. And a couple months ago, I took over for a rescue. So now I am in charge of destination rescue dogs, and I have an amazing team. So now I do port captain, towboating, and dog rescue.
Sounds like it's plenty busy enough. Was that your first? So Ringo was not your first Parvo case?
No, last year I had 6 Parvo puppies. Unfortunately, 1 passed, but 5 made it. And that was my first Parvo case, those puppies. And that's when I learned about it and what to do. And that was the same thing, just every 2 hours, giving IVs, pumping IVs into them. They have this gel that you can put in their mouth. Just, it's filled with nutrients. Just putting it on their gum, they might spit it out, but still they'll absorb a lot of nutrients. Because what happens with Parvo is their body shut down and they won't take in any fluids or nutrients or anything. And then from there, they just get lethargic and they won't eat, they won't play, and they just start to die, you know. And basically you just got to pump them up with IVs and fluids until they get past it.
Well, thank you for what you do. I think I told you, my wife and I have 4 dogs, and we can't foster. What's the hardest part of fostering? It's got to be letting them go.
The goodbye. I cry every time. It's just because you put so much time and effort into these dogs, and you just there's this one dog, his name was Buddy. He was probably my hardest goodbye just because when I got him, his leg was wrapped up and I was told he had an injury to his leg and they kept it wrapped up and can you take him for a couple days, and when I got him, there was you could smell something was wrong, so my husband and we undid the bandage and you just saw maggots just eating at his leg. And it was like, okay, whoever had this dog before did not take care of him, did not change his bandage whatsoever. And the thing about Buddy is even though he had maggots eating on his leg, he was always smiling. He was the happiest dog I have ever had. And I'm just like, how can you be so happy? I don't know what you've been through, but he was always smiling. And I had him for, oh my goodness, months. And I love it because the family that I adopted him, there couldn't have been a better family. It's a young couple. They just recently got engaged and they're going to get married on the anniversary that they adopted Buddy, because Buddy is just such a big part of their life, and another foster I had, Ollie. I had him for almost a year. He came down with Parvo too, and that was just that was so heartbreaking for me because he was older. He wasn't young like these puppies, so when he got sick, he actually tested negative for Parvo 2 times, and one vet I took him to wanted to euthanize him. And I said, you're not euthanizing this dog. There has to be another option. Euthanasia is the easy way out, so I drove him from Houston to Nederland, which was like prime traffic too at the time. So 3 hours to this vet that would come and take him. And in that 3-hour drive, his health just went down so quickly. I got to Nederland and I just get this dog that is just limp and dying in my arms, and I'm just bringing him into the vet's office and I'm crying. I'm like, this dog is dying, he's almost dead. They took him right from me and I didn't know if I was going to see him again. And he had a pretty rough couple weeks in the vet's office. They didn't know if he was going to make it. And he pulled through though, and he's living his best life in New Hampshire. And like I said, the goodbyes are so hard because you put so much time and love and energy into these dogs, but it's also so worth it because I keep in touch with a lot of the adopters that have adopted all my dogs, and just seeing them now so happy and just living their best life is just so worth it.
How many dogs are in the house now, and how many of them are yours?
So I have 5 of my own and 4 fosters at the moment, which Ringo goes to his forever home tomorrow. Belle and Dottie they have an adopter actually flying from Minnesota on Friday. They're gonna spend the night here and then they're gonna drive back with them on Saturday. And Sitka is my newest member. She is a German Shepherd Husky, and she has 1 adoption interest. And if not, she'll just be waiting for her forever home, which we transport to New York, Portland, Washington, just wherever. Whoever wants to adopt, I'll find a way to get them there.
What is Sitka going to do without Ringo?
Oh my goodness, I know you saw those videos of them, huh? They are 2 peas in a pod. I told Ringo today, I said, your buddy's gonna miss you when you're gone, because they are just, they'll play, they'll nap together, then wake up and they're again playing, and they just became instant friends so easily. But she'll have 5 other dogs to play with when he's gone.
That's part of it too for us. I don't know, but we don't have the heart to do what you're doing. But again, thank you for all that. Switching back to the maritime industry,
Mhm.
do you have any final thoughts or any final message maybe for newcomers to the industry or even old timers out there?
So old timers, I would say stick through it. We are a dying breed, but you know, we can't continue without you guys teaching the new generation, as frustrating as it might be. We just got to hang in there and keep on doing what we're doing. These newcomers, just give it a chance, and please put down your phones. Please put down your phones. That's probably the biggest thing that drives me crazy, and it will drive anybody crazy, because you tell a deckhand to go do something and you turn your back and he's on his phone, and it's just like, man, we got a job to do. You got 6 hours off. You can stop talking to your girlfriend for a couple hours to do your job, or whatever you're doing. Stop TikToking, stop Facebooking, just do your job, do what's asked of you. Yes, it's rough. I mean, it's May now and it's already scorching hot right now. And these are the summer months are probably the hardest, especially for new guys, because you're not acclimated to the sun. It's a lot hotter out there on the water, and just the workload you're probably not used to. Stay hydrated, just take breaks as you need. Don't push yourself to the point that you're going to get a heat illness or anything because you're trying to prove something. Just listen to your body. That's the biggest part. If your body's telling you need to slow down, you need to slow down, but don't take advantage of it either. We're at Kirby, we're very big on safety, and we support you when you feel like you are asked too much. If you say, I'm going to stop work right now because either I can't do it or it's not safe, we support that, but don't take advantage of the system. Don't get out of work just because you don't want to work anymore. This, as a deckhand, you have so much room to grow. You can move so far up the ladder. You just got to stick with it and just put in the time and the effort, and you can make a career out of this if you just stick with it. There's not many Kyles and Kennys around anymore. You know what I mean? It's different.
Have you had any opportunity over the years to mentor young females in the industry?
Actually, I just got an email. I joined WIMOs, and WIMOs has a mentoring program, and I just got matched up with my first one. So I just started, which I hope works out, because that's something I wish I had whenever I started out here, was just another female to kind of talk to throughout it. Maggie, who was the woman that took me to Maritime and gave me that tour of my dad's friend's daughter, she was kind of my support system because she went through it, but she took a different path after college. So I couldn't really talk to her about the whole inland towboating experience, but that's something I wish I had somebody just kind of to relate to and talk to through it all. So I'm hoping I can do that for other women, because there's not a lot of women out here still, even though every company now will probably hire a female as a deckhand, and if they don't, they should, because women are kick-ass just as men. We can do the job if we're just given the opportunity and a chance. So I feel like a lot of it is females don't know that this opportunity exists either, so just hopefully it can raise awareness and just be that support system for somebody I didn't have.
And is the woman you're mentoring going the deck route?
I don't know what she's doing, actually. I didn't get a chance to talk to her yet. I just got matched up with her, so I'll find out if she's in school or what her her ambitions are, what's her plan, you know, and we'll go from there.
Well, Stephanie, I think that'll do it for my questions. Again, I thank you for everything you've done and all that you are doing.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate you having me. I told you before, I don't think I'm that interesting like everybody else you've had, but I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast.
no problem at all. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.